We created the tankiest grandmaster again. It was over 2 years ago when we submitted our first build to the whole of Grandmaster's unique map, and in last November during Ancestral League we submitted the second, which I will detail here with all the changes and additions since then. This is a full tank build designed only to survive, using the best archetype given the Grandmaster's handicap that flasks cannot be used by them at all. To summarize, we have 55,000 energy shield with over 300% recoup for hits, 40,000 average energy shield regen, overcapped cleansing blows block with instant ES gain, 100% spell suppression, crit immune, giga curse reduction and some layers of taking less damage. You can see a comparison how much we gained in almost 2 years. Since the first version, Pantheons and Cluster Jewels got enabled, we got 2 Crucible trees, tattoos, and the new Grand Spectrum Jewels, so the 13 absorption charges granting the recoup are always up, no ramping required. With the 4 additional charges and more sources of recovery rate from tattoos and the updated Unwavering Faith Ascendancy node, the recoup amount doubled. With these stats the build is at least 3 times tankier versus spells. We got a lot stronger versus damage over time, not only because of the nearly 4 times higher average regen, but because Frostbomb got nerfed, since it no longer debuffs energy shield regen. The days of just cheesing with Scorching Ray are very long gone. It was also nerfed a lot. Against physical hits we gained 2 excellent masteries. The 5% energy shield gain per hit perfectly covers the hole where elemental recoup is lacking, and it works for the tiniest amounts of physical portion. Almost all attack builds that don't convert all of their damage to elemental will trigger this recovery, making the build even more immortal versus fast hitting attackers. When taking so much damage that cost when damage taken support can trigger constantly on cooldown, there is not much point to have self-casted DPS setups, so most of the skills are utility triggers. Frostwall adds the most tank, completely nullifying a lot of projectiles if they don't have enough pierce or chain. Frostbomb can force life-based spellcasters to turn off the Righteous Fire. Lightning Warp can potentially move the character out of ramping damage. Sigil of Power, Enfeeble, Immortal Call, Arctic Armor and Tempest Shield grant some damage reduction. Blazing Salvo can kill glass cannons with AoE overlap shotgunning. Purifying Flame and Flicker Strike are manually casted to trigger Bastion of Hope block, and to place Consecrated Ground for regen against pure dot builds if the glove enchant wouldn't suffice. Being half a year late making this video, some new power creep already came out that could be used on this build. The Adorn is currently the best in slot jewel setup, easily beating the highest investment cluster setups. The most notable potential upgrades are the Necropolis League Haunted modifiers, +1 to maximum mana per 2 intelligence on helmet, and fire resistance cannot be penetrated on body armor. Resistance countering is the biggest game in PvP. Since curses can be countered, penetration is the most reliable way to overcome resistances, while many modifiers which would be overpowered in PvP are carefully worded and coded to only work versus monsters and not players. Penetration is not. Even versus only 75%, a good investment can quadruple your damage output. It can make as much difference as all your support gems in a 6-link. Going to 90% resistances was not worth in PvP before, because penetration could completely diminish it down to 0 or even lower. By disabling penetration, we can cut enemy damage to a 10th. If the element for this haunted modifier is fire, you can convert all of cold and lightning elements to it by Dawnbreaker, Tempered by War and Sublime Vision. This setup is as overpowered as increasing our energy shield to several 100,000. While I couldn't obtain this technology just yet, I heard rumors of a new grandmaster being formed. The beauty of PvP is that of course everything has a counter. From the very recent Affliction League, Trickster's Smile is another of those one-arc uniques people wonder how it crawled onto their loot filters, but it can be a key component to bring down multiple dozen mirror-invested tanks, and this is why I love PoE so much. Submitting a character into the Hall of Grandmasters is only possible by using a token that came with the Grandmaster Supporter pack, which cannot be purchased anymore. For our submission we used the token of a generous community member, Orbitt. This character was geared in Standard League during 3.22 patch and costed probably about 20 mirrors. More recently we submitted another build that my next video will be about, so subscribe to not miss out. If you want to test your build against GGNoobs the second, you can message me in-game at Markusz. Thanks for watching.